All right, so next year we're probably going to be seeing a new breed of MacBook. And this is an important one. So I thought I'd make a video for the people that are interested in laptops and MacBooks, but also for people that are interested in buying a laptop this year. You want to hear this stuff because this may affect your purchase decision. So the rumors have been floating around forever, but we've gotten some really good confirmation recently from Ming-Chi Kuo. We're going to be seeing an ARM-based MacBook in 2021. Now, the difference for the people that are unfamiliar with this stuff, the difference between a Intel-based MacBook, which is every single MacBook that's available right now, versus an ARM-based one is the chip inside. So instead of an Intel or AMD processor, this would be running a custom processor designed by Apple in-house, completely customized to whatever their needs or wants are. And they would be able to control this whole process from top to bottom. So as an example, Apple's iPads, their iPhones, their Apple Watches, those all run custom processors that are also ARM-based. And all three of those devices are very capable and powerful computers. Well, what's a computer? But very capable computing devices. Now, if you look at their chips, they're incredibly power efficient, and the devices are very well tuned between their hardware and software. Like the synergy between them and how they communicate is very well done because the hardware and the software was made by the same company. So it's got some really nice advantages going on there. With the MacBooks, they don't get that opportunity because the chips were made by Intel. And even though Apple spends a lot of time tuning and tweaking their software, they're still working with the processor that they themselves did not make. So the rumors that have come out from Ming-Chi Kuo are saying that there's 3 Mac products that are being developed right now that have custom chips based off of the upcoming A14. So this is 5 nanometer tech that's incredibly powerful. And the question would be, why, right? A lot of you guys might be like, why would Apple want to do something like this? And there's 3 really super huge advantages that a product like this would deliver. The first thing is performance. Apple's ARM-based processors have incredible performance. If you look at the iPad Pro and even the iPhone 11, those things benchmark incredibly well. Like these are phones and tablets that can push out similar scores to an Intel-based laptop. So clearly the performance is there. But the other thing that comes along with that performance is incredibly good power efficiency. If you look at that iPad Pro score, that was done off a device that does not have a fan. It's passively cooled, and I wouldn't be surprised if these new MacBooks also run without fans and without the need for big heat pipes. And with that energy efficiency comes great battery life, because that's one of the best things of ARM-based processors. They just don't drink a lot of juice. So when you have a laptop with an ARM-based processor in it, I wouldn't be surprised if this thing hits 16, 18 hours of advertised battery life from Apple, which would be amazing and way longer than any laptop that Apple has put out to date. Another advantage that comes with this type of custom chip is control. So you get to control that whole design process, like I said. But right now, when Apple comes out with a laptop, when they're like, hey, this is the new 2020 MacBook, whatever, they're entirely dependent on what Intel brought them, right? If Intel came out with a really cool chip that year that's got 2-4 extra cores, everyone's like, yay, that's awesome. But sometimes they come out with chips. Intel comes with new chips that are 5% better than the previous generation, 10% better. And Apple now has to market that, right? They now have to deliver a product to the consumer that's mildly better than the previous generation. And that's never good for anyone other than Intel selling those chips year on year. When you make your own stuff, you can guarantee that you'll be able to deliver better performance every year. If you want. There's also the flip side where if Apple wants to, they want to twist things a little bit, they can stagger their performance increases the way they want to. But the general idea is that you are no longer dependent on someone else to improve your product every year. And the other thing is security. If you think about, you guys may know of Apple's T1 and T2 chips. The reason why Apple puts those chips into their laptops is for security, because Intel has some vulnerabilities with some of their stuff. So they put the T1 and T2 chips in here to keep stuff secure. And it handles stuff like, fingerprint identification, microphone control, camera control, all the stuff that might be a little bit sensitive is handled by an ARM chip that Apple developed. And a lot of users take that stuff for granted or just don't even care about it, but it really is something that Apple takes seriously, the whole thing about security and privacy. So they spent the time and energy and effort to put that stuff into their laptops. And now, when they make their own chips, it's built right into the SoC. So that's another advantage. But the big advantage for me, and the stuff I'm looking at it, is price. So when you build your own processors. When you design, you get that stuff made through your own supply chains. It's cheaper. And Intel stuff is quite expensive. Even like the base model MacBooks are, $200-300 a pop for the chip. So for Apple to be able to find some way to get around that pricing, it could lower the pricing of these MacBooks. Whether or not Apple kind of pockets that difference or passes those savings on down to the consumer is something we'll find out next year. But my gut feeling is that they'll actually want people to buy these devices because they need that user base for the obstacle. The big obstacle when it comes to this, and a lot of articles have been written about this, is the adoption of this new ARM-based ecosystem by developers. Like, will developers actually make applications and recompile and retool all the stuff that they do to utilize this new processor? And this is where I feel like I have a little bit of knowledge that I'd like to share with you guys. Not knowledge through Apple, but just knowledge through my previous work. I think developers will have no problem hopping on board. Apple's very good at convincing their developers to get on board with new movements like this. And it's not because Apple's like a super friendly or coddling company. It's just that if you don't move with them, you're just going to get cut, right? And Apple's very, like, when they do stuff like this, they're all in. They focus on their goal, like they want ARM-based MacBooks, they're just going to make it happen. They don't want USB-A anymore, they're just going to make it happen. They're good like that. And people just, they follow along. The developers, they go in with it. It's not going to be super easy, but I think it'll be relatively smooth from the user experience. We're not going to see like it'll be okay. That's how I feel like it'll be. Now, I think a lot of people that are doubtful of this, they look at this product as an example. This is the Surface Pro X from Microsoft. This is came out in 2019. This is a ARM-based Surface product, and this did not do nearly as well as they had hoped, I think, because it's just a different user base. It's different development, like everything's different. You can't compare this to an ARM-based Apple product because it's Apple. That's just how they roll. Now, this only applies to the MacBooks to start, not the MacBook Pros. I think that they're going to support Intel and possibly AMD chips with their MacBook Pro lineup for a good while, but it's just, the entry-level consumer stuff, I think they're going to be switching over to ARM next year. And if you're interested in a laptop, now you know that this is something that exists. So the takeaway is this. If you're someone that's like a casual MacBook user, you just want something with a keyboard, it runs Mac OS, and it's got a good screen and decent performance, and it has crazy good battery life, I'd consider holding out till next year's MacBook, or whatever they call it, comes out. Hopefully it's not called MacBook ARM, but whatever it is, I think it's going to be a very interesting product, and I think it'll be a good fit for a lot of kind of casual Apple users. And it's not just, cool to see it come out, but I want to see how does this affect the entire Apple ecosystem over time. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thumbs if you liked it, subs if you loved it. I'll see you guys next time.